Just got a Raspberry Pi but don't have a monitor to plug it into? No problem. In the next 5 minutes, I'll show you everything you need to do to get the Raspberry Pi running on a fresh installation, running headless with SSH. That being said, let's go engineer some stuff. You don't need a mouse, you don't need a keyboard, or a monitor. You will need the Raspberry Pi itself. I'll be using my Raspberry Pi 5, but any model will work. A microSD card with at least 32 gigs of space. I would recommend V30 speeds or faster for performance on read and writes. A USB-C cable and a power supply capable of at least 5 volts and 5 amps, so pretty much any USB-C charger made in the last 5 to 10 years should be able to handle this. And optionally an Ethernet cable if you prefer to use a wired connection instead of Wi-Fi. We'll be using the Raspberry Pi Imager to flash our SD card with our OS and configuration settings. To grab that, let's head over to Raspberry Pi's official website. An Imager can be downloaded from the software section. Don't worry, I'll put a link to this in the description down below. And I will download for Windows because that is what I'm running, but setup and installation will be very similar on other platforms if you're on Linux or Mac OS, for instance. After you have installed Raspberry Pi Imager, let's open it up. And the 2.0 version of Imager honestly makes the whole installation and setup process an absolute breeze. First things first, let's select which Raspberry Pi model we are using. I will select Raspberry Pi 5 in my case. Change this to whatever Raspberry Pi you are using. To keep things simple for our operating system selection, let's go with the official Raspberry Pi OS, 64-bit. 64-bit is essential for Raspberry Pis with 4 gigs or more of RAM, and the full desktop is nice to have if we want to access the Pi other than using the command line or SSH. Storage, let's select the SD card we plan to write our OS to. If you have more than one USB storage device connected, make sure you have selected the one you want to use for the Pi, as all data will get formatted and erased. Also, make sure to always keep exclude system drives checked, otherwise you run the risk of formatting your operating system drives, which would not be a fun time or a good experience. Customization time now. For the hostname, pick out a hostname with whatever you want your device to appear on your network as. So if you pick Sam's Awesome Pi, you would need that name for SSH connection or remote desktop connections. Try not to pick something too embarrassing. Location, I am in the United States, so I will select Washington, D.C., and time zone New York is closest to me. You can also pick a different keyboard layout if you want. Obviously, if you're somewhere else in the world, pick whatever keyboard layout you want to use and whatever location and time zone works best for you. Username is the default non-root user you will use to log into the Pi, and you will need to pick and confirm a password. Just like the host name, we'll use this username for SSH, and if you wanted to do a remote desktop, so again, pick a username that you can remember easily and won't be embarrassing. If you have chosen to use Wi-Fi, here is where you enter the network you want the Pi to connect to by default. I'm using my home network, for example, and make sure to include the Wi-Fi network's password if it has one. And this is very important. By default, SSH is disabled in the installer, but we have to turn this on for access to our Pi. Without a mouse, keyboard, and monitor, this is how we're going to be getting into the Pi for command line access and to use it. For authentication, let's keep it simple and go with password-based authentication. If in future videos you guys want to see me setting this up with key-based authentication, please let me know down below. I'll be happy to do that. And Raspberry Pi Connect can be left off for now, and we can always enable that later if we want to use the official remote desktop client of the Raspberry Pi. And we are ready to write. Make sure you read the warning and do one final check that you're writing to the correct SD card. After hitting accept, we can sit back and let Imager download our OS, write it to the SD card, include our customized settings, and then verify it wrote to the SD card without errors. Once our microSD card has been plugged into the Pi and our USB-C power cable has been connected to power up, after about a minute we should be able to SSH into our Raspberry Pi. To SSH in, I will be using Windows Terminal, but you could also use PuTTY or any other SSH tool you want. We will enter the command SSH followed by our username, which is SJR in my case, the @sign, and then the host name, which in my case is Raspberry Pi 5. Don't worry about the authenticity message. This will go away if we had key-based authentication, but you don't have to worry about it. We will type yes to connect and then put in our password, and there we have it, right into our Raspberry Pi. A quick cat, etc. OS release shows us we are running Raspberry Pi OS 13, codename Trixie. And just like that, in 5 minutes, you have a Raspberry Pi set up in headless mode, all running over SSH, all with just an SD card and some USB-C power. This is how I like to deploy my Raspberry Pis in my home lab. It makes playing with services, testing new features, and managing all of the different devices so much easier. If you found this video, don't forget to hit that thumbs up button and to subscribe. I do all kinds of content on Raspberry Pi, home labbing, and other awesome engineering stuff. So as always, I'm Sam the Engineering Man, and I'll see you all in the next one.